Hello, YouTube Pipe community. OTC Piper. Coming at you now to do the VR blue collar pipe smoker, which I've been talking about many times. On a post that he had made, or a video that he had put out, with a very intriguing question: with which historical figure would you most like to sit down and smoke a pipe with? And as I mentioned before, that something that I enjoyed considering, in the days since, because I am a history buff. I enjoy especially American history, and I wanted to go ahead and do a VR video for my channel. I think you would enjoy it, and I'm going to post a link in his comment section under for that video. He did a very good presentation of the Ulysses S. Grant, which I enjoyed being a part of. As much as I've contemplated everything, I've gotten it down to 3 categories. Pick one out of 3: biblical, non-biblical, and family. Biblical is going to be God, but not just God in general. I feel like so often when I sit out here with my pipe that I sit with him. But God on the 7th day when he rested. Non-biblical is going to be Francis Marion. And family history is going to be my great-grandfather, Roy Ansley Dias, who has unfortunately passed away many years ago. So we'll get right into this. There's going to be 3 different pipes featured and 3 different blends for each category. So I thought that would be fun. So first one, we're going to do God on the 7th day when he rested. And let's go over the pipe first. I'm going to smoke my Georgetown Collector. It's one I got from Tobacco Cabana as an estate pipe. What I'm going to be smoking with is some Balkan Oriental. That's one of my favorite blends, and one that I can just sip on all day long or just for a short time, and I just enjoy the smoke. And it is in a deep bowl. You can go for a while with this bowl. I'm not going to smoke this whole bowl before I'm going to have to switch it over. But that's just kind of the intro to this section. Let me get it lit first. I'm going to pour me some coffee, as always. I have me a little cup of joe. Let's get this lit. Got it going good. Okay. Another reason why this is probably my most bent pipe, and I figured if I was sitting with God on the 7th day when he rested, seeing what he was seeing, I'd want something that did not block my vision, like a straight pipe. I'm going to read the passage real quick where he talks about what he made and when he had finished it. Many may be familiar with these. It's going to be Genesis 1 through 3, and 1:31 through 2, verse 2. Starts here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. That started the 6 days of creation. We'll skip on down here to Genesis 1, verse 31. We're going to go into chapter 2 to verse 2. It said, "And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning the sixth day. Thus the heavens and all the earth were completed, and all their host. And by the seventh day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. A lot of people believe that the earth was created on the first day, and that's not true. It said in the beginning is when he created the heavens and the earth. The dateless past, before time was in existence as we know it to be. On day one, he brought order to chaos, and he set things in motion at that point. Let there be light. Set things in motion. The universe, time, seasons were all set into motion on that day. When he rested, he would see then, and as he considered everything that he had done and everything that was going to come to pass, he would see what was, and he would see what it would be reduced to under the stewardship of mankind, and he would see what it would be again. And to sit with God while he thought about those things and considered and pondered those things, to me would be breathtaking. And it kind of wraps up everything that I could put on this list in that day. But that would be my biblical entry into this VR. For those reasons, at that specific day, I'd like to be sitting with God smoking a pipe. Okay, a couple more parts on this one, then I'm going to change. Because I do like this blend. And I'm hitting the night shift again tomorrow, so I've got to be up for another 4 or 5 more hours so I can sleep through the day. Okay, historic, or the non-biblical history. My entry in this would be Francis Marion. He was known as the Swamp Fox, was his nickname. The character in Mel Gibson's The Patriot was loosely based on this character. Was not an accurate movie. I did enjoy the movie for the fact that I was being entertained. Historically, not really an accurate portrayal. We'll get into that here in a second. Let's go over what I'm going to be doing here. Kind of what seems like a more period correct is a little mini church warden with some straight Kentucky burley. Get this lit. And I will have plenty of time to smoke whatever's left in these when the video is over. This has sat on my shelf for quite some time, and it's got a delightful sweetness from its cellaring, but nothing but Kentucky burley. I wish I'd had a clay pipe or something like that would have been more historically accurate. That was a popular pipe during those times. Not necessarily just the long pipes. There were short pipes way before even this time. But just from some historical etchings and drawings, paintings and whatnot, I just decided to go with this one. Francis Marion. As we get more into this, I believe he was more of a strategist, more of a thinker, which is why I believe he's not known for smoking a pipe, but I believe that he did. It's just my opinion. Had basic education, and actually went off to serve at sea at the age of 15. Later, he'd served with his brother in the French and Indian Wars, where the Cherokee actually inspired the type of warfare that would earn him the name the Swamp Fox. But after the French and Indian Wars, he went back to plantation life. He had a plantation and became successful. Later purchased a larger plantation on the Santee River. From his prosperity and success, he had public affairs, public office. He would later be commissioned in the South Carolina militia. And he adopted a more guerrilla-style warfare, as you kind of see in the movie, where Francis Marion was pursued by Banastre Tarleton, who the character in the movie would have been, I think, Colonel Tavington, I think was his name. And I cannot remember the exact quote. They were chasing him into the swamps and everything, and he said, he turned his men around and said, the devil couldn't even catch this damn swamp fox, or something like that. I think it was the actual quote, or not the actual quote, but something close to it. And I think I butchered that horribly. I'm going to have to go back and, I would normally have my books out here. I have a lot of texts on Francis Marion, and for the life of me, I can't find things that have been shuffled around here quite a bit. Wish I could get to that. But anyways, that's a very loose paraphrasing of how he got the name the Swamp Fox. But I believe that he knew that if they were going to be successful, they'd have to change the nature in which the war was fought. Because the Redcoats, they sure had the numbers, but they didn't have the heart. I think that's what, initially, that's the central thing that really won the American Revolution for the Americans, was the heart. Because you had paid soldiers fighting for a paycheck, and then you had the Americans that were fighting for so much more. It meant something more to them. They had their families here. They weren't going to finish this little fight and go home and all that. I think that definitely played to their advantage. But I believe that the Swamp Fox, Francis Marion, was definitely instrumental in turning the tides of this war. And there's a lot of different accounts. I just did a very, very basic, brief thing on Francis Marion. There's several different accounts, as far as the fall of Charleston, how he escaped that by breaking his ankle. Some say he just slipped into the swamps, go get his men, and come back and do more fighting. I think I'm more on the side of the ankle story. But in my text, I've had two different versions of that. Definitely an intriguing character, one that you don't hear about as much as you hear about like George Washington or something like that. But definitely an interesting person. Definitely somebody who put a lot of thought into what he did, and definitely had a strategic way about him. But basically becoming, I guess you would say, the first American sniper, with very calculated strikes. Very, I keep saying we're strategic, but that's really what it is. Very calculated strikes, and he thought outside the box. That's what has always interested me for many years about this character. Like this burley. I'm normally not much of a burley guy, but this has been sitting there for a while, and it's really nice. So that'll do it for that entry. And the third family history. I'm going to talk about my great-grandfather, Roy Inslee Dice. He's the one I think about every time I'm sitting smoking my pipe, at least at some point or another. I really think about, the memories that I have going over to their house, his and my great-grandmother's house, smelling his pipe. Just remember, I would always be excited every time he lit up, or sometimes as a little child, I would ask him, smoke his pipe because I wanted to smell it. The pipe I'm going to be smoking is one of his. I always liked it. I'd see it in his drawer. This is a very old pipe. It's a BBK Brew Boo, kind of the old army style. I'm not sure exactly how to date this pipe, but I know that they started making pipes in the late 1800s, and they continued past the Great Depression, but they were critically reduced in their business and their staff in 1930, I want to say, or 31. This is one that I still smoke, but I only smoke the blend that my grandfather smoked in this pipe. There's nothing else that goes into this, and that's going to be Prince Albert. And if you remember from my intro video, this is an aged tin that I found that is just spectacular. So the other ones I had preloaded to save time. This one I didn't do that with. I got thinking about other things. I'm going to load this up real quick. My mother has a curio cabinet, or some kind of, I guess that's what you would call it, some kind of display cabinet. And she has a bunch of odds and ends and trinkets from my great-grandmother and great-grandfather. And I went to ask her if I could bring some of these to do this little presentation about them. You always live a pipe with them that. That's kind of why I like to do it, I guess. Really takes me back. I remember he would always sit in his chair and he'd pull a card table up to the chair and he'd play solitaire, watch a ball game, watch something on TV. And that was what he did. What I have here is one of his tins. It's an old tin, Prince Albert tin. Which is, you find these in antique shops all the time. I know that this one was his. And there's another interesting one here that he's got. Can't see it there. From my mother's account, I've never seen him do this, but he would cut these tins down and he would reattach the bottom. So he has a small little tin to put in his shirt pocket. Take with him when he was leaving the house. I don't know how he did it. That's what she told me. I'm not sure exactly how he did it. I don't even know if the camera's going to pick it up, but I mean, it looks like a very well done reapplication of that bottom. You almost can't tell that it was ever taken off. Looks factory done. I can see a little marring right there on the bottom. But that's what she said, and I thought that was interesting. That's something that he did to his tin so he could carry a little bit with him. And I thought this was neat. This was another one. This was with it all. It's a pipe he smoked most often. Dr. Graybo Rivera. Or Rivera Graybo. And still tastes the tobacco in this. I love it. and this goes in the cabinet. Hopefully I'll wind up with this one of these days, but this is one I always saw him smoke most of the time. Go back to this one. I would always see him walk up, they lived in Mesquite, Texas. Walk up to his porch, sometimes when I go in, he'd be sitting on the porch. And there's a little planter on the front porch with a little brick ledge around it. And he'd be sitting on that brick ledge. And I'd go up as a child saying, "Granddad, what you doing?" And he just, without breaking gauge, just say, watching the cars go by, smoking his pipe. And if I couldn't go back and sit with God on the seventh day when he rested, I'd have to pick going back to sitting on that ledge watching the cars go by. So I've got some photographs that I was able to find of him as a graduate, high school graduate. Then some other time, middle age, and then a little bit later in life. And I'm going to tack those on to the end of this video, just to show them off, since I'm doing his presentation last. Anyways, those are my 3 entries. I hope this has been interesting, a little something different than I've been doing. But I've enjoyed making it, and then more than that, I've enjoyed contemplating my entries into this VR presentation. So I encourage everyone to think about things like this, even if not this particular thing. There's a lot in a lot of historical and philosophical things that I like to consider all the time when I'm smoking a pipe, if I'm not with somebody or have something else going on. And give a look at the original video that was done by Blue Collar Pipe Smoker. I'll put a link when I post this VR, and then take this VR and link it over to his page or channel. But anyways, I want to go ahead and sign off, and just wish everybody all the best. And here's to good times and a warm pipe.